Okay, so now we are going to make sure our studs are plumb, level, square, that sort of thing. Now, to get them perfect is almost impossible, so I wouldn't worry about making everything 100% because you can make up the difference when you're doing the tiling. But that being said, the better you do now to make these studs level with each other and 90s, the whole lot easier it is to tile. Again, we're in renovations, so anything can happen at any time. It's a random thing, and just you got to work with what you got. So I couldn't show you, unfortunately, every single situation, but basically when you have studs that are too far back, so if you can see here, down here at the tub, there's a really big gap behind here. Now you don't want to have that because your board's going to come down and it'll sit about here, half an inch out, and then your tile won't be able to sit on that nice tile ledge. So what you need to do is you need to build this out. And I've already pre-cut pieces. So I determined that a 1/4 inch was a good size. So what I'm gonna do is take this 1/4 inch and attach it to the stud. And I'll attach it with just some simple drywall nails or something like that. If I use a screw, it'll just blow it up and it won't hold it. So when it's this thin, you just need to use some nails. Because when you do your board, you're gonna be using really long screws and it'll go through both and it'll hold this on. So for now, all you're doing is tacking that on, not a big deal. So you figured that out, that's good. Now if you have a situation like over here, you can see that the studs are kind of in and out, and there's not a whole lot of places that so this is the piece I put in. But this piece here, if you bring your board across, there's not a whole lot of places that your screws could grab onto with the board. You want it nice and sturdy. So what I'm gonna do here is, instead of just trying to shim this out, I'm gonna put a whole new piece in. So I actually used some scraps. So here's where hoarders, you'll be really happy you kept that piece of wood. Okay, so what we've done here is we put up those 1/4 inch boards I was talking about, just tacked it in with some drywall nails. Like I said, I only have 3 in there because when the other screws go through, it's really gonna attach this to the stud. So that's all you need to do is tack it up. Now for this one, because of the way these studs worked out, I am using these two as my standard. So from here to here, and then running my level along these two. And what I want to do is build out this side. So you'll notice, as we talked about, this needs more for the board to come across and to attach to. This one just wasn't enough. So instead of building it, putting it back there and adding a strip, I'm just doing it all in one step. Make sure that's flush with those. And then the bottom is flush with that. There you go. So this one's perfectly in line with these two, which is awesome. And then what I'll do is I'll throw a few screws into here, and then I'll do the same to this piece down here. Same idea, I'll just measure across, make sure it's flush, and then throw some screws in. And then once you have that, you're pretty much ready to go. Now one thing I didn't talk about was how level and plumb you are. And this one is right on. I had checked it before, I just hadn't mentioned it. So anytime you use these things, you just want to make sure that the bubble is in between the 2 lines. To try and get it perfectly centered is really difficult, but as long as that little bubble is in between those 2 lines, then you can call that level. If not, if it is off one way or another, then what you'll need to do is either bring the top out or the bottom out, depending on how it is. And that's, again, all variables on what your particular renovation looks like. Okay, so we're going to show you how to make these the stud flush with these 2 studs. So I talked about it, but let's again show how it's done. So put the level hitting the 2 studs here, and then bring this out to whatever, or push it into wherever you need it, as long as it's touching. So now that it's right on here, take your screw. I always preset the screw to make it a whole lot easier. Make a whole lot of noise. Now, if you really don't like that noise, you don't have to use a ratchet gun. You can use a regular drill, doesn't matter. I love these tools. I have a drill, matching drill and drill driver set with a Makita, and I'm a huge fan. I've used a bunch of different brands. The Makita, to me personally, is by far one of the best. I'm really happy with them. They last a long time, good battery life, all that sort of thing. So there are a lot of other brands that are cheaper out there, but this one in my opinion is one of the best. So that's how you would put up the board. I'm going to do one more screw in there, and then I'm going to do one more board right down here to extend where when the whitey board comes across, I'll be able to put screws in here. Now, because of the distance between here and here, I am also going to put a shim, the 1/4 inch shim here, so that I can put a screw here and a couple here just for stability, or else it'd be a little too much flapping in the edge, because if there's only a screw here and a big gap, that'll be too much of no support. So we'll do that, and then we'll move on to the next step.